Well, I now notice the government are too ashamed of the VAT cut to mention that in the list of what they did last November. But let's be absolutely clear what the governor of the Bank of England said yesterday. He said, I think the fiscal position in the UK is not one where we could engage in another significant round of fiscal expansion. For a governor of the Bank of England to speak in this way ahead of a budget is exceptional and extraordinary, especially when the Prime Minister was in the very act of proclaiming a fiscal stimulus before the European Parliament. It is a defining moment in the debate in this country about how to deal with the recession. Today she speaks for the whole government. The Chancellor is sitting alongside her. Do they agree with the Governor of the Bank of England? Yes or no?
I would agree with the right honourable gentleman that it is a defining time. Yes, it is a defining time, because whilst we take the action necessary, they would do nothing. It's a defining time because this weekend they decided to press ahead with their plans for tax cuts for just 3,000 millionaires, whilst at the same time they preach financial rectitude. And he said, I'd missed out the VAT cut. Well, I'm sorry, and I will rectify that. And I will mention the VAT cut, which will put £275 into the family budgets of everyone in this country. I will also mention the help for pensioners that started in January this year. I'll mention the help with extra child tax credit. And the big defining dividing line is that we want to make sure that we give help for 22 million families with tax cuts, whereas their priority would give £200,000 each in tax cuts to just 3,000 millionaires.
Harriet Harman talking about the Tory plans for inheritance tax cuts.
Well, the question was about the Governor of the Bank of England. I know inheritance may preoccupy the niece of the Countess of Longford, but
That's Harriet Harman.
It's no good attacking our policy, which is to reward people who have saved hard and worked hard all their lives, and which, when we announced it, the government tried to copy. But on the Governor of the Bank of England, let us be very clear what the Governor said. He said, I think the fiscal position in the UK is not one where we could engage in another significant round of fiscal expansion. The question to the Leader of the House today is whether she agrees with the Governor of the Bank of England, yes or no?
The budget will be on April the 22nd. The Governor of the Bank of England agrees with us when he said that our fiscal stimulus was perfectly reasonable and appropriate. And when it comes to fiscal measures, how can he justify £2 billion of public money being squandered on 3,000 of the richest people in this country? That is unfairness and irresponsibility.
Back to those Tory inheritance tax plans from Harriet Harman.
The CBI said this week of the British economy that a further significant fiscal stimulus is unaffordable. The Item Club said there is very little room for manoeuvre. The chief executive of the Audit Commission said that we are facing an Armageddon scenario because of the scale of the indebtedness. The Governor of the Bank of England said what I have now read out to her twice, that this country cannot afford another substantial, significant fiscal stimulus. May I give her, in my last question, the third opportunity to agree with the Governor of the Bank of England. Otherwise, the nation will rightly conclude that this government are now in open disagreement with the Bank of England and are no longer in control either of the public finances or the policies of this country. Yes or no? Does she agree with that?
This country will rightly conclude that whilst they say they've changed their ways, the Tories haven't. And I want to make it quite clear that when we are investing, we will continue to invest. They call for cuts. When our Prime Minister is working with world leaders, they drift off to Europe's far right. And when we're giving tax cuts to millions of people, they would give tax cuts, but only to millionaires. So they've set out their stall. It's the Millionaires' Manifesto. Yeah!
Order. Sally Keeble.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Is my right honourable friend aware of the predictions of a serious increase in youth unemployment this summer?